Hello, everyone. Brad Logan here, along with Ben Garrett and Jake Crain of On3. And gentlemen, boy, it's great to see all of you. We've got a great crowd today, a lot to get to today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Jake, thanks very much for joining us. Ben, jumping on with us as well. We've got all of our sponsors we want to thank. We'll get to them in just a moment. A lot to talk about, specifically right now with SEC spring meetings, if you want to call them that, going on right now. And a lot to get to, Ben, and appreciate everybody jumping on today.
Yeah, I want to start real quick by saying I told Brad to bring us in. Usually I play my little, hip hop bar, it's like some generic music. My man said, no, we starting Wednesday with some island time because Jake Crain from On3 here joins us on Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Brad, the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and affiliate of On3. This QR code that just popped up above my head, that's for the Ole Miss Spirit. You scan it today. Sign up for $1. Try us out for 5 days, $1, and then it switches to an annual sub. We'd love to have you at the Ole Miss Spirit. I've been writing stories on stuff that Jake Crain has said, really from Crain and Cone. I like their show, man. It's a national On3 show, and now Jake joins us here on Talk of Champions. Jake, first of all, how you doing, man? I know your daddy duty in today.
Yeah, well, first off, appreciate you guys having me. I'm doing great. I do want to let the audience know my wife's about 7 months pregnant, not feeling great today. So I got my 16-month-old, our other one that's roaming around. So if you hear random baby noises, no, that is not my brother. That is actually my 16-month-old daughter. So I just want to give everybody a heads up there. But I tell you, what a time to be an Ole Miss fan, man. I'm really excited for you guys. I know the stuff with Lane's been crazy. But at the end of the day, man, it's really cool to see the way that Ole Miss has elevated themselves. And now Pete, who I think is ready for this job. And obviously we got college baseball as well. So what a time to be alive.
I hear Viola already. Tell her we say hello.
I will.
I know, man, congratulations on the second one on the way, man. It's the best thing in the world. I ain't got to tell you this, bro. We were put on earth for this right here. So it's special, bro.
Yeah.
I love that she's guest appearing on the show today.
Yeah, and I'm hoping she kind of stays quiet, but she is my daughter, so we're gonna see how that goes. But no, to be honest with you, the way I explain it, my brother is about to get married. That's the last time I'm probably gonna reference him. I'm gonna go ahead and get those couple out of the way. But he's about to get married, and he asked me, what is it like to have a kid? And the best way I can describe it is, I don't think a person knows what love really is. I love my wife. I love her to death. I love our dogs. But there is no love like that when you have a child. And I'm really excited to see how the second one goes. Look, I'm a defensive guy. We're going to have to change defenses, but I can teach man-to-man. And Ben, Brad, we're going to press. All right? We're going to press.
Good. Yeah, because, going to zone, it can get a little tricky, man. You're just going to have to match up and switch if you need to, all those kind of things. You're right. It is a crazy time to be an Ole Miss person. Ole Miss fans out there are certainly excited about what the season will be potentially in 2026, 27, coming off of a college football playoff appearance. But I hate that we're having to start here, but the man just won't shut up. He won't stop talking. And here it is. This is Lane today. Lane says Ole Miss. Wait, you got this, Brad, or I got to do this? Here we go. I'll do this. Lane says Ole Miss would have reached the national championship game if he'd coached the playoff with Pete Golding in the booth. What are you going to argue? I've got two questions, Jake, because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm tired of talking about him. I really am. Why won't he stop? Does it say more about how he feels about his roster? And do you agree with this sentiment? Because I would argue Pete Golding's, not aversion, but certainly a change in philosophy in going toward long field goals with Lucas Cañero, who is a Lou Groza Award candidate, won Ole Miss the Sugar Bowl. And Lane, I don't think in that same position, if we'd gone the same way, Ole Miss would have won that. What do you make of this and just what Lane continues to say and do?
Well, I'll start with the first question. I really think Lane at the end of the day, and look, I know Lane and Pete don't hate each other. I know they troll each other. They kind of have fun. Lane way more than Pete. I just think Lane got into the spotlight this way, and he loves being the spotlight. He loves being the crazy one in the Desperate Housewives show, like the one that throws the chair, or the one that starts a fight with the other one because she looked at somebody the wrong way. It's not just argumentative, Lane. It's over the top. And I think the last couple of things he said, including that, which again, how are you going to prove that to be true or not true? I mean, it's saying things that in reality, I mean, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. I don't think there was that many people that are rooting for Lane Kiffin in general. And again, I don't hate the guy. I think sometimes it's funny in this side or the other. But there are less and less people outside of the LSU fan base, obviously, that I think are rooting for Lane Kiffin because it is getting tiring. It's like the Fast and the Furious movies. It's the same plot to every movie. I know how it's going to end. Not that they're awful or they're the worst, but by Fast and Furious 7, like I'm done with it. I know what's going to happen. I'm like you. I'm tired of it. But Lane's not tired of it because I think this is his persona. This is who he really is, unfortunately, for some people.
Yeah, he can't seem to stomach the fact that Ole Miss is so normal without him. And I love the way you kind of call it like the Fast and Furious movies. And the thing is like it's even if you send Ludacris into space, all right, at some point it's diminished returns. And for me, he can say it the same way anytime. Like they should have let me coach the playoffs. This, that. I mean, that's what at the end of the day is the point of contention for him. He wanted to coach the playoffs. He knew he couldn't. He didn't get his way, and he's been throwing a fit ever since.
Well, look, you can't always get what you want. I tell my 16-month-old that all the time. Like, I even sing her the "You Can't Always Get What You Want" song. What did you expect Keith Carter and them to do? Just say, you know what, King Lane, whatever you want, buddy, leave us high and dry. You just get whatever you want. I think the Ole Miss had to make a statement. They made a statement, even to the point where other ADs are like, yeah, I would have done the exact same thing.
Bird said it, for goodness sake.
I know, like, I can't look weak to my president. I can't look weak to the fan base. This isn't Lane Kiffin University. It's Ole Miss. And the minute you lower the standard or the way that you look at yourself, then you're going to settle and you're going to fall back to mediocrity. That's why I think Keith made the right decision. That's why I think 99% of people understand why he made the decision. And it just seems like Lane can't get over this. You know what, Lane? Go win the Natty at LSU and then nobody cares. Nobody will care about you didn't get to coach this or you didn't get to coach that. I think he's more upset that Pete won, too. Like, again, if Ole Miss would have gotten blasted, I think he would have kind of rubbed it in their face a little bit, even though him and Pete like each other. But the fact Pete did what he did, you know, it kind of makes Lane look like, hey, maybe you really aren't the main character of the story, right? Maybe the guy with the limp was Kaiser Sose the whole time.
That's a really good point because I don't want people to forget, like, Lane was planning to come to the Sugar Bowl. He was planning to do so, and family members did show up, and you can say, well, they were there to support the football program. Everything with Lane has an ulterior motive. Everything does, and it's in service to Lane. And like for me, I don't get why he continues to beat this dead horse if for no other reason than he doesn't like his roster. Or he's worried that his roster is not going to be able to deliver to the expectation that LSU fans have from year one. And you could say, well, they shouldn't have those expectations in year one, and that's perfectly fine. That's viable. That's fair. But that's what you signed up for. $98 million, a $40 million roster, and going to a place where they said 9-3 with the best Ole Miss roster in 2024. We'll fire you for that. You chose that. Like, what is really your only defense to just continue to come at your old school who you said you needed more than it needed you? It ain't washing. The math ain't mathing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, again, if you're gonna leave the girl you've been steady with to go chase after the Instagram model, you probably shouldn't keep texting her all the time, like just checking in on her. That's what it seems, or sending her pictures of you and this new girl out in Cabo. That's just what it feels like to me. And I almost think, to be honest with you, if the standard at LSU is anything less than making the playoff, when you pay this type of money for a roster and a coaching staff and you go get Edo and you do these things, I'm not going to spend the money on a Lamborghini and just drive it around, school zones at 15 miles per hour. Like, if I'm going to pay that money for a Lambo, we're going to go on the interstate and we're going to put the pedal to the floor and see how fast it can go. LSU, this is not a waiting thing. And Lane knows that. So is it a defense mechanism for Lane? Maybe. He's always been under a ton of pressure. I'm just telling you, man, when I look at the way this is going down, I feel like if it was me and I was approaching year one with the $40 million roster, with all these expectations, I would be talking a lot more about my team than the place that I just left, and especially saying some of the things that he said, the racism stuff. Like, to me, I don't understand why you would, if you thought it was so racist, why did you take the head job there? Why did you become one of the most highest paid people in the state of Mississippi if it's so bad? it feels like to me that maybe he's a little bit nervous, but maybe reality is starting to set in a little bit.
Well, one thing that it does when you continue to talk is open yourself up to trolling opportunities.
Say we're going to get our ass beat September 19th. Hotty toddy.
I got to play it again. For those that don't know, this hero that popped up on Twitter at the Jeep Adventures All Over. Let's take a moment to highlight how Lane got trolled by an Ole Miss fan in epic fashion over the weekend. It was definitely island time for Lane for the beach day. Like, he's a different guy when he's not surrounded by state troopers. It's kind of crazy how that works. You know, this is who he is. And man, buddy got him.
Say we're going to get our ass beat September 19th.
I'm done.
Hotty toddy.
But that's what you open yourself up to, man. Like, that's what you open yourself up to. And I can't say any more bad words because our friend Viola is right there now.
She's heard it. She's good. I mean,
Okay.
but Lane should respect that, right? Like that's his shtick. Like that's the whole point. I think he wants attention deep down. I actually think Lane enjoys interactions like that because it's saying, "Hey, look how relevant you are. I'm going to come up to you at a random place and do things like that." I think that's just I think that's right up Lane's alley. I'm surprised he didn't smile and give him a high five, or hell, maybe Lane gave him $20 to actually come say it, so we would be talking about Lane Kiffin. I wouldn't put it past him.
That's a really good point that I hadn't even thought about. Like, because everything is feeding, everything is wrestling to Lane.
False flag, Ben. False flag.
But I'm gonna go and say that Jeff just got his ass and in a perfect little viral moment that perfectly encapsulates who Lane is. But I wish the dude would just go be the head coach at LSU now. Like, you can't go. I hope y'all read the words in the article. Y'all should read the words in the article instead of misinterpreting. How do you misinterpret or take anything other than what you were saying when you use the word segregation? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. Come on.
Yeah, like Lane, like, look, I get it, messing with Pete, joking around with people. I get. Now you're talking about serious stuff and painting a whole group of people with a broad brush that you were just singing Kumbaya with, man. You know, so that's, again, I think it's all an act, and I don't like it.
Jack, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Ole Miss, and that's going to include, obviously, that September 19th game against LSU. How do you feel the university, from an administration standpoint, from a coaching staff standpoint, has handled the whole Lane fiasco with him leaving, and then obviously with the game coming up September 19th and all the back and forth? What are your thoughts about Ole Miss and its administration and how they've handled this?
I think they've handled it about as good as you could. And they've made their layups. You had to promote Pete, right? Especially after what happened. There's an art form to just not doing stupid things and also showing strength. And I think that's what Keith did. And I think he had to do it. I don't think it was that complex or complicated of a thing. Now, what will be complex and complicated is what you're going to have to do with the National Guard or the feds that come down for that game on September 19th, because it's going to look like a UFC fight outside that stadium, in my opinion. The baseball game was just a taste. That's what I want to see. You want to talk about structurally having to have things set up. There may be more hate in that game. Just true hate. Not like rivalry hate. You know, we've been playing each other for 80 years and we live in the same state. You root for this team and I root for that team. I'm talking about pure, unadulterated hate. Player haters ball type hate. You know, like the old Dave Chappelle skit. But I think Keith and them did everything right. They did what they were supposed to do. But Ben, this to me is not only just from how good Ole Miss and LSU could be. I'm not even talking about playoff implications. But just from a status and social media standpoint, can you imagine what X or Twitter or whatever we call it's going to look like if Ole Miss beats LSU? The memes that will come from that? I mean, the aliens may just show themselves at that point. But I think the administration's they've made every layup that's been given to them, and I think the less they give Lane the light of day and give him a reaction, the more pissed off he's going to be. The more upset the people around him are going to be, and I think it makes Ole Miss look better. I mean, look, sometimes she breaks up. You got to lose 40 pounds, start doing sit-ups, and go make more money. And
go
that's
hit
what
the gym.
It feels like. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Ole Miss is well on their way to do that.
Hey, Jake, who does it mean more to, I think, in the long-range plan? And I think this is a question that I don't know the answer to, and I think it could be really answered in a couple of different ways. After September 19th, if I told you that either Ole Miss or LSU won, who benefited more from the win? Because at the time the game's being played, early in the season. LSU's got a lot of tough games after it. Ole Miss has got a lot of tough games after it. Who can rebound better from the loss, and who needs it more, Ole Miss or LSU, or even Lane Kiffin at this point?
Well, God, it feels like Lane, just from a personal standpoint, needs it to kind of cash in on all the trash talk that's been going on. But look, when you look at both the schedules, I'll say this: Ole Miss better worry about Louisville. You can't worry about LSU going into week one. You've got to make the main thing the main thing. But as far as setting yourself up for down the road, I don't think either schedule is a walk amongst the tulips. You are going to be battle tested, but momentum's a real thing. This could be a legit springboard game for Ole Miss and kind of saying, hey, look, Pete's still here. Trinidad and Kewan are still here. We can still win. It takes a lot of juice out of Lane if Ole Miss beats them. So therefore, I'm going to say it means more to Lane Kiffin and LSU because, again, you're going to talk the talk. If you don't walk the walk, they're going to drag you. They're going to drag you, and God knows what Lane's going to say on social media. So as far as determining who's going to win the conference or go to the playoff, I think it's kind of equal value. But perception-wise, I mean, Lane better win, or they're going to drag you all across this thing.
What are your thoughts about Trinidad Chambliss and Kewan Lacey in regards to, we can talk about this. We're not coaches. But talking about postseason award possibility, Heisman Trophy, and how good are they? And obviously, how big is it for them to be able to come back and play for Pete Golding in this upcoming season?
Well, it's massive for Pete because it gives you continuity and you don't have to worry about having a quarterback that can do it. Not only that, Trinidad Chambliss, I think, has been disrespected when you look at a lot of some of these lists that have put out there. And look, I'm not saying I'm always right. Nobody's always right in this thing. Saban gets it wrong. But Trinidad Chambliss, to me, when I watch him pass, because he doesn't throw, he passes. He's a natural passer of the ball. It's like he's playing shortstop. He can field the ball to his right, make the throw. Field the ball to his left, make the throw. Make the routine ones. Throw the deep ball. He can punch the whole shot, right? He can squeeze the dig in there. He can give you the lollipop in the bucket or the slip screen. Kewan Lacey, to me, reminds me a lot of Jeremiah Love, to be honest. They're both taller guys. They're need-a-helmet runners. Typically a lot of tall guys run high. That's why they get destroyed. That's why it's tough for tall backs a lot of times. But with Kewan's core strength, his ability to run kind of with his center of gravity being a tall guy, and you're having to tackle a human knee that is flying to a face, I think they're the most underrated quarterback-running back duo in the country. And I love when my daughter does this, by the way. But I think it's going to make a world of difference for Pete, especially year one as the guy, to give him some continuity and let the offense continue to cook without Charlie Weiss Jr. there and without Lane there. So put some respect on Trinidad's name. I think there's a really good chance he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, and I think he's going to be a reason why Ole Miss stays hot this year, and it'll elevate the play around him. That's the biggest thing that he does. So I think he's actually, as much as the guy balled and what he did last year, I think he's kind of disrespected a little coming into this year. And you know what? Good. I would rather be disrespected. It makes it easier for me as a coach if you feel disrespected. So I think Boy's going to get in there. It's going to be a Bobby Flay situation. He's just going to be cooking it up.
Well, you brought up something that I've been touching on for a couple of weeks here. Andy Staples, my guy, was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him about Ole Miss being devalued in post-spring rankings. I mean, imagine a 13-win Florida. Not LSU, not Alabama, just 13-win Florida, returning a quarterback who had the 8th most votes for the Heisman last year and a running back who most consider the best in the sport and set a single-season record at Ole Miss last season returning. Andy said it perfectly. It's the logo. Right? It's the logo. At what point will Ole Miss be moving past the logo to where guys like Trinidad and Kewan should be treated as they should be treated? Where Ari and I love Ari Washington, good dude.
Oh, I do too. Ari's a great dude.
But like Ari leaving Trinidad off his top 10 returning players for 2026 is insane to me. And even though I understand the justification, which is essentially the difference between number 9 and number 11 is microscopic, I would argue having even Trinidad at number 9 is not fair to the kid. So when does Ole Miss move past the logo?
Man, I think we're already past that point. I don't know how when you look at Ole Miss and what they've done, recently in this era. And again, look, I grew up, Ole Miss had Eli Manning. I watched Ole Miss score a ton of points. They just could never stop anybody on defense. And what elevated Ole Miss was the line of scrimmage, the front seven. I've always been able to watch Ole Miss score points. And that's great and that's awesome, but they would lose the game 48-45. Now they're able to win games 24-17. They would never win a game like that in the past. And the depth that they've stacked, I'm to the point where I don't look at the logo, and maybe it's because I coached and did this, and when you're evaluating guys, whether it's in recruiting or whether you're playing against, I've watched guys that we played at Jacksonville State that could go start at Florida. I'm going to put who I think is the best there, and I'm not saying Ari didn't. He has a right to his opinion, and we'll see how it goes, but I will never discount a player based on the place that they play, because the minute you do that, you're going to get beat if you go into a game thinking that. That's why when Lane said what he said the other day, in some of these games where we could just roll our helmet out there, man, that I wouldn't have said that out loud. Is it true? Yes, if we're going to be honest. But this whole Ole Miss is like Vanderbilt, or they shouldn't be given respect because they're not Alabama or Georgia or whatever. Well, I just watched them beat Georgia in the playoff. They had 30 more seconds. They were about to beat Miami. They've won a lot here lately. They're in the SEC. What else do you want? The mirror does not lie. Women lie, men lie, numbers do not lie. So, again, I actually think playing at Ole Miss helps you now. If we're going to be honest, if we're going to look at a logo in that way. And I would say that if I was on a Mississippi State podcast, because that's what I truly believe. We had Trinidad Chambliss as one of our top guys. If you go look at our list on Crain and Cone, because if I'm drafting a team right now, you say, Jake, you get to start a college football team. You have to draft a quarterback. Who are you taking? Well, Trinidad Chambliss, if it's in the SEC, is going to be number one for me. And even nationally, I think he's in the conversation. And look, Kewan Lacey, we all know he's one of the best backs in the country. So, yeah, the logo thing needs to die. It needs to die the death it deserves.
Jake,
Thank
I want
you.
Jake, I want to ask you an administrative question because you would know more than anybody else that covers the game because of your coaching background. But before I do, I want to say this. You've come a long way. I remember you and I at the Marriott back in 2015, 2016, had a locked out Twitter account. You had a cell phone, a laptop, and a light. And I think that was it. We were both very new in this world of SEC football, and you've come a long way. And I just want to tell you congratulations. And it's not because anybody handed you anything. It's hard work, and you're to be commended for what you've grown, where you are now, of course, now with On3. Crain and Cone is a great show, and you're a massive voice in college football. So I want to say congratulations.
Well, Brad, I appreciate that, and you too, buddy. I mean, again, I was there with you, watching you. It's been fun to watch the guys that when I got into this, the grinders there at the beginning, it really pay off, and you can see that across the space, and the barrier of entry now isn't tough, so it really kind of lets the cream rise to the top. And I've been very, very blessed. I mean, been very lucky and fortunate as well. There's a lot of people that work hard and it doesn't work out. We're not done with that yet. We've tried to, keep that same kind of pace up and understanding, we're still carving this thing into what we want to be. But I've been unbelievably blessed. And I really appreciate you saying that, Brad. And you and Ben, how much respect I have for you guys. We love doing it. I always say, I only know 4 things and they all start with F. Football happens to be one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not good at building things. I put her Barbie car together miraculously. I'll never be able to do that again from start to stop. But man, it's a great gig. And the coolest part about it, people ask, say, what's the coolest part about your job? And I always tell them, and you guys, I'm sure said the same thing, is that when my wife comes in and I'm watching the game and she asks me to do something, I get to say I'm working, and it's actually true. So that's probably the best part about it. But it's it's been a wild ride. We're very fortunate to be at On3 with you guys as well, and it's fun, man. We're just getting started, like y'all. We're just getting started, and I'm fired up for this baseball regionals coming up as well. So
me too. I'm gonna I know Brad was wanting to continue on there, but now I want to know what the other 3 Fs are.
Yeah, I can't say those on here. I think you can guess one of them.
That's what I was saying. I just totally wanted to put you on the spot with it, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Because I'll let you know one or the other. I'll leave the other 2 up to the imagination.
Fantastic.
Yeah, let's get back on the track.
Sorry, Brad. I know I derailed that one.
No, Ben did because everybody was cool. Everybody knew where we were going. Everybody was cool with that. I love where we're at, and then here comes Ben to the rescue to
I'm
bomb
just
us.
saying, like, okay, like, let's drop some real knowledge here. You got Jake Cohn, like, like, you need to master the 4Fs. What are the 4Fs, Ben and Jake? All right, moving on.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
It
I wanna
takes
get back
when it takes a long time to master.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's get back on the tracks.
You're no
So,
fun, Brad.
I want to get to from a coaching standpoint, Jake, administrative wise. I get asked this a lot, and I think your perspective is very, very important here. I get asked a lot, Brad. You're telling me that Ole Miss, both offensively, defensively, they're going to be better than last year. In my opinion, they are. Obviously, the schedule is going to dictate what the record is. I think the schedule is much more difficult. But I'm asked a lot. So you're telling me that Ole Miss is going to be better, but yet they lose their head coach, who is the winningest head coach, is Johnny Vaught. They lose their offensive coordinator, which is one of the best OCs in college football, and then they're having to get a new defensive coordinator because their defense coordinator is a new head coach. All of that change. A running back coach is leaving, a wide receiver coach is leaving. They've got a new OC coming in. All that change, you're telling me they're going to be better. And honestly, that's a really good question. I do think for being inside the bubble, understanding that John David Baker coming back and having familiarity with Pete Golding, and understanding with Joe Judge being a huge component of this team, it's not near as bad as people question. But I would like to ask you, how much does that play into your thought process of Ole Miss moving forward with all of those moving parts on an administration and a coaching standpoint?
Yeah. Well, I first want to say this. Coaching matters. Coaching is very important. But to me, coaching is about 30% of the reason why you win. None of those things you just said were a guy that's going to make a tackle, we're a guy that's going to throw a pass, is a guy that's going to run the ball. I've been on coaching staffs where the coordinators were not smart, but they looked smart because our players were really good. I've also been on staffs where the coaches were geniuses, but they looked like idiots because the players weren't very good. So I think when you look at the continuity that Ole Miss brings back from a personnel on the field standpoint, with the continuity of Pete having coached the games the way that he did, and now having a full offseason to implement his culture a little bit, not that the processing is going to be that much different. I mean, heck, he even said, listen, we kept the same schedule. Why would you not? That makes it easier on the players. And Ole Miss, Brad, to your point, could play better this year and have a worse record. I know fans don't want to hear that, but that's the truth when you look at the schedule, because the schedule does matter. Now, having said that, I think when you look at the quarterback position, when you look at the skill position, I'm not worried about Ole Miss. What I need to see from Ole Miss is, can you give Eccles some help around him with what you lost in the portal? That's where I think having a guy like Pete Golding as your head coach with that defensive mindset, y'all brought up kicking field goals instead of going for it and taking the points. I think Ole Miss will be kind of leaner and meaner from a decision-making standpoint while still having good enough personnel to compete at a high level. I need to see the front seven on defense. That's what I need to see. If that looks good and that checks out, Ole Miss going to be hell.
Jay, one more question for me. Where do you put Ole Miss in the preseason pecking order in the SEC? Because, not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but there's Texas and Steve Sarkisian on Arch Manning that's going to be really good with Cam Coleman. There's obviously the Kalen DeBoer factor at Alabama. I think Alabama's going to be really good. Alex Golish at Auburn. Obviously, that's another new cog in the wheel. Then you've got the brand new John Summerall at Florida. I mean, the SEC is just loaded. Brent Venables in Oklahoma is going to be good, in my opinion. Then we've got Lane Kiffin at LSU. Georgia and Kirby Smart. I mean, where does it stop? You've got a brand new guy at Kentucky. Where does Ole Miss factor into all this? And kind of where do you see Ole Miss moving forward this year with the schedule they've got out in front of them?
Well, if I were to put it in the tiers, and tiers with an I, not an EA. If I were to put it in tiers, you look at Texas, we know they're super talented, but they were super talented last year. They didn't make the college football playoff. You still got to play Ohio State. You look at Georgia, super talented, made the playoff. We know how that went. Kirby's going to be Kirby. You look at the talent that LSU has. I don't know how you don't put Ole Miss in the same bucket with those teams. Like, where is Ole Miss that much more deficient than Georgia is? Like, where is Ole Miss that much more deficient from a roster standpoint than LSU is? I think at the top of the SEC, you've got really 4, maybe 5 teams that were like, okay, this could be the best team. Ole Miss is in that bucket. And I think it makes it more fun that we're not looking here and pointing at one team like we used to do with Alabama and Nick Saban and say, all right, well, they're going to be the best. We know they're going to be the best. Who's going to be the second best, or who can maybe catch them if they slip up? I don't think we're going to have that situation this year. We probably won't again with the way the sport's changing. So to me, Ole Miss should be at the top and talked about in that bucket. I'm not saying put them 1. I'm not saying you have to put them 2. But how are you going to put them 6? I don't understand that. Hold my hand and walk me down the aisle and explain that to me like I'm a young child. I think Ole Miss is going to be near the top. And when you return Trinidad and you return Kawan and you know get Pete to come back and do what he's doing, man, I think Ole Miss should be talked about as a team that can not only win the SEC but win the national title. I don't think that's crazy to say. Some people act like that's crazy when they were nose hair away from playing for it last year.
Real quick, last thing for me. Do you think anything, or what do you make of the whole tampering discussion? Because I've had very passionate, not defenses necessarily, but I think what has happened within that space and with that piece, particularly nationally, has been overblown and a number of different things. What do you make of this entire tampering deal with Dabo and Ole Miss and all this stuff?
Well, look, I think, like Drake said, there's levels to it. Right? Everybody in some way tampers. The best way to do it is to go through a third party because all these players know each other. You got a player on your team that went to camps with a kid that's on another team, or they played in the same high school, or they just became friends throughout, playing college football. And you say, hey, I'm coach talking to player A. Player A, can you message player B from this other team and just talk to him and see if he'd be interested? To me, I've got no problem with that. That's going to happen naturally. These players, when they go back home or they're talking to guys on other teams, they're going to bring it up naturally because great players want to play with great players. But to me, when a head coach I'm not saying anybody did this, but I'm just using this as an example. If a head coach reaches out to a player that is not in the transfer portal and says, hey, man, do you want to transfer over here? To me, okay, I go 5 miles over the speed limit, but I'm not going 25 over the speed limit, right? If you go that fast, you deserve to be pulled over. So I think there's a difference there, but trying to stop tampering overall, and I'm not saying you shouldn't try to stop it, but that's like trying to stop people cheating on each other. Like, they're going to do it. Like, you're never going to stop it all the way. You hope to maybe minimize the amount that it happens. But to me, there's a big difference in between going through a third party to find information and just going straight to the party to find information. So that's kind of where I draw the line.
He's Jake Crain, On3 national show, Crain and Cone. Absolutely dynamite stuff. He's awesome. Viola hung on for as long as she could.
Yeah.
And now she's sound asleep. To be honest with you, the fact that she can sleep through this tells me I wish I could still sleep like that. You know what I mean? Like, Don't you miss the days where it's like, no worries, just sleep on dad while he's
it's just sleep wherever you fall down now. Like, every time I wake up, something hurts unless I sleep in exactly the right position. But no, guys, appreciate y'all having me on. Again, Brett, you guys both know the level of respect we have for y'all. We're always down to come on. Need to get y'all on. I'm sure we're going to do an Ole Miss football preview here this summer. Need to get both you guys on to do that. And yeah, come check us out. We just did our huge regional preview. I think Ole Miss fans are going to like what I had to say. I'm pretty bullish on Ole Miss getting out of that regional, but yeah, we have a lot of fun. We're very blessed, and without the audience, there is no us. But you guys keep killing it. I see how it's going. I see whose pages does the best, and you guys do a great job. So anytime y'all need me, and Viola, who is sound asleep. So my next hour and a half, it's going to be awesome, fellas. I'm excited about it.
I got to
be able to work it out. Thanks, Jay. We really
he's
appreciate
awesome.
you.
Hey, before you leave, real quick, then give me. You think Ole Miss is getting out of Lincoln?
I do. I think Ole Miss is getting out of Lincoln. Again, we talk about the hitting and what Ole Miss has been able to do, and I think it's awesome Nebraska's hosting. I think it's awesome Kansas is hosting for the first time. West Virginia's hosting. I just think it is a different level of monster when you go through the league that you just went through that has 7 host spots. And I think Ole Miss, when it comes to the postseason, I think this team is dangerous because they don't feel as respected maybe as some others, them in Arkansas. And then you watch Mississippi State hosting a regional, that'll get you fired up. Don't be shocked if Ole Miss plays maybe the best they have all year coming up this weekend. I'm ready to see it.
Thank you, Jake. You're the man. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, see you guys anytime.
All right, man.
Jake.
That's Jake Crain, On3 national voice, analyst, commentator. Man, he's awesome. That was my first time really talking to Jake all that much. And talk about ball knowledge. That man gets it. And I'm so thankful that he came on. This is Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben on Twitter. That's Brad Logan at Brad Logan TOC. He's changed it.
We did it.
I want to I want to go find the text that you sent me. Show the picture of it. Screen share. This man changed it. It's no longer COTE. So go ahead. Like somebody asked in the YouTube comments, I want to answer it for him. So what does COTE mean?
Corner of the end zone. If everybody remembers when Blogspot was a thing, that was the first blog that I had. And it was Brad Logan, Corner of the End Zone. That was the name of my blog. So really excited that we've got a change, and that came because young Ben over here decided, hey, why don't you change that? That doesn't make any sense. Ben. I'm like,
young Ben.
Okay, so here we are.
Ben turning 40 on August 18, young Ben. But look, hey, man, I understand how it feels. Like my 04 F-150 paid off. We got the wife and new car down in Samuels. I hate cars. I think they're a scam. I'm still driving that bad boy. And I know that it doesn't have much life left in it. You know what I mean? I know it doesn't. I can feel it. I can drive it. Know that car for a long time. Know that truck for a long time. It's going to be painful when you let it go because, man, it's meant something to you. COTE is where you started. You know what I mean? But look where you come. Look how far you came.
That was not easy to do. But
that's what I'm saying. So I know what it meant to give it up, but you didn't have to. Look at it. Hold on. We got to get the thing. Got to get the banner off. Yeah.
There it is.
At Brad Logan TOC. And that is where at Brad Logan TOC, where he will be releasing from Dirty Ass Eater from the comments. He says you won't say his name,
sir. I'm not going to do it.
He wanted to know Jake had the Bentley files, but if you wanted to know for sure, Dirty Eater, at Brad Logan TOC for Talking Champions, we'll have the Bentley files tomorrow. Is that the big reveal? No, I'm playing. I'm messing with him now. This is Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben at Brad Logan's, not COTE, TOC. We both cover Ole Miss for the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, affiliate of On3. That QR code above my head is for the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, affiliate of On3. Scan it, sign up today for $1. Try us out for 5 days. What's it going to hurt you? Try us out for 5 days. Come hang and talk Ole Miss sports with us all day, every day. Let's hear from some of our sponsors, and then we'll come back and wrap things up. This is Talk of Champions.
Homes and businesses from the whims of nature. You need more than just quality materials. You require Riverland Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, Riverland Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence,
Have you messed something up? We were playing the commercial.
Approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what Riverland Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
Hey, Rebels, your truck is here. Alan Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford presents the all-new Ram Rebel. It's Ram, the Rebel way. Send an unmistakable signal. Rebel, 24/7. Ram Rebel, from your friend in the car business. Alan Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford.
Come by, let's be friends. I'm Warrior Philip Hearn. Raising my family here in Mississippi, I've tried to teach my kids to help others. I learned that from my parents. And as a Mississippi lawyer, I want to help you too. If you're hurt in a traffic accident, 18-wheeler wreck, or have insurance trouble, call 601-720-3541. That's my cell. You call, I'll answer. Let's get started. Make your first call to the Hearn Law Firm today.
Start my weekend.
Own your day on the Network for Connected Living. There's more to see. C-Spire. Customer inspired.
Our thanks to C-Spire, Allen Samuels, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram of Oxford, Riverland Roofing for all your roofing needs. 662-644-4297. Game Day Haircuts. Oh, man, I could go on and on and on. If you want to be a sponsor of Talk of Champions and sponsor our SEC Media Days coverage, contact me or Brad Logan, either at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, or at Spirit Ben on Twitter, at Brad Logan TOC. We'd love to have you. And Ole Miss baseball this weekend, of course, is in Nebraska. Jake Cohn thinks Ole Miss is going to get out of it as the 2 seed. Host Nebraska, got a tough 3 seed with Arizona State. Mike Bianco said yesterday they don't know. I don't know if a decision's been made, but that they don't know who they're going to throw on game 1. Where are you kind of today now that media day is behind us from the introduction or the announcement that Ole Miss was going to go play in Nebraska to today? Like, what's your main takeaway? Do you think it's going to be Taylor Rabe on Friday?
I mean, I said yesterday on our show, which, by the way, huge feedback. Thanks, everybody, for watching live from Swayze. If you haven't seen that, we encourage you to go back. Ben goes off in the NCAA. It's worth a watch. And just right below this one, you'll see the video. Just click on it if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, it's a podcast right before this one. Be sure to like and share. We really appreciate that, and that helps us. And we know how much we appreciate all of you listening. So thanks for sharing that. But yeah, I mean, I feel just like I did yesterday. In fact, I feel stronger that Taylor Rabe should get the ball on Friday night because he's pitching and he's throwing it better than anybody. But far be it for me to stand in the way of Joel Mangrum. I mean, Mike said yesterday that he being Joel Mangrum has not had a chance to kind of dig through the numbers and the analytics and all that good stuff. So I expected an answer, or I say an answer. I expect the decision to come sooner rather than later. And Mike's really good about getting the information out to the media about who's going to throw. So I think they need to go Taylor. The worst case scenario is you throw Hunter Elliott, who's been in the trenches for a long time. And, Mike even said yesterday that, Mike and Hunter are the 2 left. And I thought that was really, really cool. That he's been through the wars. And so, I mean, obviously that could be worse decisions. I want to say real quickly, we've got a new sponsor that we're very excited about, and that's Shed Hunger of Woodman, Modern Woodman of America. He's out of Winona, Mississippi. You can go by and see him today at 210 Summit Street in Winona, or you can give him a call at 662-442-4723. Proud sponsor here on the Talk of Champions. Any type of financial need, we encourage you to call Shed today, 662-442-4723, or go by and see him from 9 to 5, 210 Summit Street in Winona. He will hook you up. He's an Ole Miss guy, and we trust him, and we're excited that he is part of the Talk of Champions family. But, yeah, to answer your question, I'm going Taylor Rabe, Hunter Elliott. Interesting, Ben, I saw you post on the board, which, by the way, you can post today right above that QR code on Ben's head at the Ole Miss Spirit, an affiliate of On3. That's omspirit.com. Jake Crain, if he's not in now, he will be en route to Lincoln, Nebraska. We'll have him on the show for all of our content, all of our coverage from Ole Miss's run to Omaha. And
you said Jake
I think it's
Crain,
interesting.
Jake Thompson, but yes.
Yeah, I know I've got Jake Crain on my mind. Sorry about that. Jake Thompson.
But that's okay. Well, I'm thinking but Jake Crain has kind of got me a little bit more bullish after he said, I mean, this is a completely objective national voice saying, I think they're getting out of there as the 2 seed. I'm kind of more bullish on it today than I was. And I think Cade Smith, who's a great follow on Twitter, great Ole Miss dude, at Cade Smith _3. I like this setup. Game 1 of Rabe. If you go 1-0 Elliott, my point of contention would be if you're 0-1 starting Libbert.
Cade posted this, and you agreed with it. That was it.
Yeah, because I wouldn't start Will Libbert in an elimination game. There's no chance in hell. Not that I would start Cade Townsend necessarily, but I like that the way that kind of lays out. I might even go with Calhoun in 0-1 over Libbert, not because more than anything, just I don't trust Libbert right now. I just don't. And I think Ole Miss is strong enough to get out of it. And really, Rabe is a strikeout pitcher against a 3 true outcome offense in Arizona State. Might be the right matchup anyway. I mean, when I mean 3 true outcomes, it's a walk, a home run, or a strikeout. He's a volume strikeout pitcher. I like the idea that because Arizona State does have a good offense. I mean, they've got a good starting pitcher on Friday night. But I liked what how Cade kind of laid it out. Again, only arguable point would be Liberty in an elimination game. But I think you kind of nailed that one. Kay kind of got that one well on, and we'll see if he actually when he makes a decision and if he actually does go with someone other than Hunter Elliott. I think I'd still be surprised if he did, just because it's game one, you give the ball to Hunter, right? But we'll see. And what's been interesting to see with Hunter, he's always been a hot pitcher, specifically in May. He always has really strong Mays. Last May, this May, like he only gave up two runs. I mean, he gave 2 runs or less at every start in May, and you might want to ride that, especially with the guy going in on short rest, and then save Rabe for the next opportunity, if not the third. You can't really go wrong, in my opinion. It's an interesting conversation. We'll see which way they go and when it'll be announced. We'll obviously have that at the Ole Miss Spirit. But certainly Jake Thompson will be joining us live from the scene. He's going to Lincoln, Nebraska. Jake Crain, who is our guest today from On3, the Crain and Cone show, he thinks they're getting out of there as a 2 seed. And I think more than anything, I don't want it to get lost, like being paired with Auburn. Auburn's a good baseball team, but like being paired with Auburn, rather than being paired with Georgia, which was some of the projections I was seeing the day before the signing selection show. Like I'd rather go that way than have to face the most powerful offenses, like potentially in the history of the sport, let alone, certainly the most dynamic offensive catcher in the history of the sport for Georgia. I'm kind of warming up to the matchup.
Ben, I want to touch on something before we get out of here. I'm really more interested in the offensive side of the ball rather than the defensive. I know that's a bit of a football analogy, but I'm interested to see, is this a game and is this a series in which we see Tripp kind of get hot, Austin Foley stay hot? Are we going to see Owen Pano have a big day? Judd Udemark, the long ball with he and Will Furnace. Here's something I think is very important for people to understand. Hawks Field, and I posted this, the University, the dimensions, and we know from being in Omaha, a couple of years ago, the wind is crazy in Omaha. Left field and right field, pretty standard. 335 in left, 325 in right. What is not standard in the power alley at left field, 403, the right field power alley 400, and then 395 to center. I mean, that's a big park. And so I think that's something that we need to kind of pay attention to as this game starts off on Friday. What's Ole Miss's offensive approach going to be? Now, you can use that as a positive from the pitching standpoint. It means probably a lot of balls are not going to leave the yard in the alley like they normally would at Swayze or other parks in the Southeastern Conference. So that's something I'm going to monitor. The second thing I'm going to monitor is this is a ballpark that holds around 9,000 people, and they've been known to put 8,500 in this place. That's going to be akin to an SEC environment. It's a regional environment. And so I actually asked Kate Townsend about this yesterday. And he was like, we kind of thrive on that, kind of thrive on being on the road. And I thought Sam Hutchins, he said it was kind of a dumb question. I disagree. I thought it was a really good question. And when he asked Mike Bianco about, Coach, can you kind of draw some positives about not playing at home and playing on the road to where it's more business, to where you go to the hotel, you practice, you play, you eat, go to the hotel. It's kind of a methodical thing, and you kind of get away from the home environment. I thought Mike's answer was really good. He said, obviously, we want to host in Oxford. That stadium was built up. And I thought the answer was good. I think there's some truth in there. And I do think there's some truth to where, now that's not obviously Ole Miss fans. And, we all want to be able to see the Rebels play in Swayze because it's built to host. But I do think there's some value in that, because you look back in 22 when Ole Miss went on the road to Arizona, they went on the road to Miami, and they just ran roughshod through both those regionals. And I think there was some truth to the fact that you didn't have that home environment. There were years past, maybe 20 years ago, 05, 08, some years in which Ole Miss did not play well at home. They played better on the road. So I think there's some kind of truth in the middle of all that. So I'm going to be watching, too, the approach at the plate, how well they'll be on the road in that environment. I don't think it's going to play a huge factor in the game. And thing I think is going to help Ole Miss because they kind of thrive in that environment. I mean, Mike Bianco is a very seasoned coach. He's been down the road and back again. He's learned more baseball than I'll ever know. So watching Ole Miss on the road in Nebraska is going to be fascinating to me. The second thing, if Jake Crain, who we had a moment ago, was on, who was great, by the way, if Ole Miss does get past Nebraska, I really like the matchup with Auburn. I mean, I know Auburn's playing really good right now, but of all the teams, I think Ole Miss matches up really well against Auburn. That would be a crazy series on the Plains with Butch Thompson versus Mike Bianco. The stories the headlines kind of write themselves with that. So a lot of hay to get in the barn between now and the Super Regional. But those are the kind of the storylines I'm looking for as we get ready to crank things up. And yes, Jake Thompson is on his way. If not now, it will be tomorrow to cover this one from Lincoln. He'll be joining us, and he was on the show yesterday. And we really appreciate Jake joining us. Some really good stuff.
If Ole Miss is to host its first Super Regional since 2009, I think it's 2009. Auburn would need to lose its regional and Ole Miss get out of the Lincoln Regional. That's the scenario.
Central Florida and NC State would be the programs that would need to beat Auburn.
Yep. And then Ole Miss would get, that's how they host the Super Regional at their place. What's interesting to me, if Ole Miss gets out of Nebraska and faces off against Auburn, like you said, the stories write themselves. The first thing I think, like Butch Thompson was
Amory, Mississippi native.
He's from Amory, and he was 100% a finalist if Ole Miss had moved on from Mike Bianco in 2022. And Mike,
really good baseball coach.
Yeah, he's a great baseball coach, and he's doing his best coaching, or he's got his best results, I should say, the last handful of years. But it's really interesting to think about how, like, all the different storylines going into the postseason and how it could potentially play out. If it were to be a matchup with Auburn, you have that dynamic. But also remember, like, Ole Miss is the only two times Ole Miss has punched its ticket to Omaha was on the road.
Yeah,
you want to host, and you want to. I mean, I feel really for the local economy of Oxford. That's what I said yesterday when we were live from Swayze Field. That's where the pain is. Ole Miss fans, you want to be able to sit in the home stands and cheer on your team and have the whole home, whatever. But like the NCAA tournament, once you host it, it's treated very much like it's not a home game. It's an NCAA tournament game. And Ole Miss can be treated and is treated, depending on when they're home or away in the tournament, as an away team in its own stadium. And it's kind of weird in that way. So I've like the in-game experience isn't really necessarily elevated outside of just being at home and only having to drive so far. The main deal for me is in 2022, Mike knew they weren't getting in. He appealed to John Cohen. John Cohen said, "Don't F it up." And he said, okay. And he was in as the last team in the NCAA tournament. They won 10 of 11. Hunter emerged as the co-ace of that team. He's one of only a few that are left from the 2022 team. Mike said it was me and him, but also Clem and Laugh. There are a few others on the staff as well. But the only player left is that 2022 team. And they punched their ticket and won 10 of 11 all on the road. All on the road. Now, I'm not saying that this team is going to be like that team, but you can see some similarities in terms of how they can get hot. This team was better than that team ever was in the regular season, right? I think this team is better positioned than the 2014 team that went to ULL in the Super Regional. I was there and busted through. I remember when Holt Pertzak hit that big time, game-winning RBI. I remember those things. I'm saying that this team, don't let it get lost because of the schedule that they played, because of the history of the program. Like, if you're just looking through the lens of this season, this Ole Miss team is a good team, and I really do think their draw was pretty daggum good, all things considered. Yes, you want them to be hosting, but don't sleep on their chances to come out of Lincoln and make a real run at this thing, because they've been that kind of competitive team all year. And I just don't want that to be lost, because everyone's disappointed. They want postseason baseball, but, like, look at historical precedent. When Ole Miss goes to Omaha, it does it on the road. If they play Auburn, Butch Thompson was almost your head coach in 2022. Amory, Mississippi native. They write themselves. Look at what they've done, but also, it doesn't matter where you go, what you do. If you're Ole Miss, you're in the tournament, you're in the dance. And 2 years ago, there's a question of when was Ole Miss going to get back to the postseason. So you don't ever want to dismissive or be dismissive of postseasons. They used to be rarer. They're always an accomplishment, and Ole Miss baseball takes on Arizona State first in the Lincoln Regional Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2. So I'm excited to see how things go. He's Brad Logan. I'm Ben Garrett. We'll see you all at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, affiliate of On3. Talk of Champions, subscribe, rate, review, wherever you get your podcasts. Don't matter if it's Apple, Spotify, wherever. Give us a shout out. We'd love to hear from you. Those reviews and those thumbs ups and those likes and really subscribing to the Spirit. $1 to try us out for 5 days. Those are the stuff that helps us the most. Final thoughts, Brad, as we get out of here. What you got going the rest of the week? Tomorrow, we got Ben Ingram and Enrique Davis. We're doing the interviews in the morning. We might do the show live at like noon. I don't know yet. We got to work out the logistics. But coming up, we've got Enrique Davis and Ben Ingram working on some other things as well. But a big week show coming up here shortly, Brad.
Yeah, really excited about the opportunities we have upcoming, and thankful for all of our sponsors once again that make this program what it is. If I can, there we go. We want to let everybody know.
We got to teach you. We got to get you. You're not quite. You're not quite like he had his commercial slip up. You know what I mean?
Better than I was.
You were. You're growing, but just always remember, like this producer piece, it ain't easy. All right. Very difficult. Ben's Mason told me over there at Allen Sandwich, like, I always see you like looking off and doing this, that, and the other. Yeah. Brad's learning real quick. It's a pain in the rear sometimes, but you're doing great, man. You're doing good. Yeah. And we do want people to show up.
Graphic up. So please let us know if you'd like to be a sponsor for our coverage from Tampa. I mean, I've already talked to some people that are down there. We've got interviews already getting lined up from some national folks, some local people. And so I'm really excited about being live down from Tampa. Ben and I will have full coverage for you. We'll have shows every day, all day, probably a couple of hours a day. We're going to be live for a lot of our time down in Tampa. So, and we'll be down there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll get with and to see what all we want. I mean, let us know. I mean, who would you like to hear from? Obviously, we're going to hear from all the Ole Miss side of things, and we'll hear from the folks that cover teams all across the gamut of the SEC, and we'll get interviews for you. We'll have them live on the show. We'll have interviews that we'll tape, and we're going to bring you. Here's my goal. My goal is to bring Tampa to you, the person that enjoys Ole Miss athletics. And if we can do that, and at the end of the day, when I'm headed home and somebody says, man, I felt like I was in Tampa, Ben, I think that we've done our job. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we wanted. The sights and sounds of Tampa, Florida. We're going to find some cool things about the area of Tampa and maybe some food, some stuff like that, just to kind of bring Tampa to you. So that's what we're excited about. But we need some sponsors to help us along the way. We'd love for you to join us. We've already had some folks that have already reached out. We're excited to bring those sponsorships information to you about those people that are sponsoring our coverage from Tampa. So just like our coverage on the road to Phoenix, to New Orleans, we're headed to Tampa for you. So please let us know if we can help you, and just shoot us a direct message on X at Brad Logan TOC or at Spirit Ben, or you can shoot me an email at brad.logan@loganmedianetwork.com or at Spirit Ben on X, and then, of course, on the Talk of Champions YouTube page or the Ole Miss Spirit at omspirit.com. So definitely appreciate all of you jumping on, and appreciate you being with us as we get ready to head down to Tampa. But, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens on Friday, because I think Ole Miss is going to come to play. And I think Ole Miss is going to they're gonna leave everything on the field, and I'm excited to see what they can do. Also excited to hear from Ben Ingram tomorrow. Ben's a big Ole Miss guy and does a phenomenal job as the radio voice of the Atlanta Braves. So excited to hear from him and Enrique Davis, and really appreciate them joining us.
Yep. One of the last things before we get out of here, I just remembered this as you were bringing up DMs on Twitter. I'm bad about checking my DMs. There's a fundraiser for an Ole Miss fan, big follower of the podcast, Joseph Moore. He's struggling right now. He had a bad back injury. He's out of work, and he's needing some help. If you'd like to help him out, reach out or here's the link you're seeing it on the screen. This is the GoFundMe. Be the first to donate to Joe and to help him out. He needs some help, and he's a good Ole Miss guy, and he's going through it, man, after his injury. And he reached out to me personally, and he didn't want to have to ask, but man, we all got things we got to need help with sometimes. So I'll be the first to donate. I would encourage y'all to do so as well. That's Joseph Moore on the GoFundMe. Look him up. Help JoJo pay bills while he heals. He needs your help. Also, when you do go to SEC Media Days, the only real request I have is just to recreate this.
We're going to get our ass beat September 19th. Hotty toddy.
No. I need that. I need this energy over and over again.
Say we're going to get our ass beat September 19th. Hotty toddy.
Oh, he's just such a different guy when he doesn't have, state troopers around him.
Well,
Crazy how that works.
here's the thing, and people joke, and it's being shared, hundreds of thousands of times, a ton of views. But the reason that's being done is because
He won't stop talking.
when you lie on the porch with the dog that's got the fleas all over them. My grandfather always said you're probably going to get some fleas on you. So when you dig in those waters, when you start posting, things about Ole Miss, you talk about Ole Miss, and you put yourself online like this, and you troll, you got to be able to take it. Nobody's doing that to any other coaches and posting it for social cred.
Turnabout's fair play, and everybody's
where it is.
Everybody's bold when they got state troopers around them. This has been Talking Champions. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Brad Logan. See you tomorrow, buddy.
Thanks, everybody.